choices. But not just the choices that you made tonight, the choices that you've made since the day that we met. Well, all along, I planned to influence you to make the wrong choice, and I knew you'd pick the red handle.
You then see Kai seemingly worried he was going to face a ton of backlash, and he definitely did. With people generally thinking prank or not, whether Kai knew or not, he shouldn't have let this whole thing happen. With people writing things like, it doesn't take a genius to know once a man was on a stage with a noose around his neck, you probably shouldn't continue with the stunt. No matter if the magician tricked him or not, there comes a point you need to use logic in your brain and call things off. I'm not saying Kai is a bad guy, but he needs to be held accountable. And Kai Cenat had someone almost break their neck for his enjoyment, and his first words are, "I might get banned." And this is people saying that because of this and other recent controversial elements of his stream, he should be banned, with other creators like XQC even chiming in.
It's just weird. Imagine inducing like mental torment on people like, oh dude, you pulled the wire and you just killed somebody. Oh, it's a sticky note. It's just a prank.
Now with this, understand you do have people defending Kai, saying, you know, he didn't know it was gonna happen, he got set up, some think that Max was intentionally sabotaging him. Though there, we've seen some pushing back, speculating that every element was staged. With this, you know, others are more mad at Max, calling him out in his YouTube comments, saying that he owes Kai and his viewers an apology for this prank. But as far as my opinion, I'm not inside Kai Cenat's brain. I don't know if he was in on it or not. It seems crazy that he would do it, but I also do not know him as a person. But I do find myself agreeing with the argument that even just seeing the setup for this would have been enough to kill this, right? I mean that either way you look at it. One, purely on Max's side, right? I think just as a concept, fake accidental hanging prank, fucking loser of a concept. As well as then on the other end, the 50-50 will he get hung challenge? Insane concept. Like I cannot imagine how hard it is to come up with new interesting ideas for 30 days straight of nonstop streaming. But I mean, just like, holy shit, what a spectacular disaster. You know, with that, I gotta ask, what are your thoughts here? And also let me know if you're familiar with Kai or not. What are your thoughts on the people alleging that Kai was in on it or not? Also, if you didn't know, what are your thoughts about him even participating once he saw the setup? Or with a situation, do you end up falling in the camp of seeing Kai as the victim here? He trusted someone that did something fucked up. Let me know what you're thinking and why. But then we should talk about how Elon Musk and X have jumped into the middle of this whole InfoWars onion situation, right? And all of it kind of centers around the idea of you not owning your X account, because that's basically what the company is saying in a new legal filing in the bankruptcy case of Alex Jones, the man behind InfoWars. Right? And that because in 2022, a judge ordered Jones to pay more than $1.4 million in damages for falsely claiming the Sandy Hook mass shooting was a hoax, with him then quickly filing for bankruptcy, and then this month, The Onion buying InfoWars at a bankruptcy auction with the backing of Sandy Hook families. And The Onion, which is a satire news publication, saying that it would turn the site into a parody of itself. Except that sale, it's not final yet. You have Jones and his backers alleging that the sale was a result of fraud and collusion. With, for example, the other bidder, a company that runs a website selling nutritional supplements in Jones's name, they pointed out in an emergency filing that it offered $3.5 million in cash. The Onion, they only offered $1.75 million. Though notably there, the auction process approved by the judge did not require the company to be sold to the highest bidder, saying instead that the trustee could reject the bid that was, quote, contrary to the best interests of the Sandy Hook families. And in this case, the trustee reportedly determined that the creditors ended up significantly better off under the Onion's bid, with one of the reasons being that the majority of Sandy Hook families were willing to pass on their share of the sale proceeds. Right? Instead, they would take a percentage of future revenues from the new InfoWars, leaving more money for the others to get right now. And that's without mentioning that Jones would then not be able to keep InfoWars, which I imagine is an upside for all, if not some of the families. But in any case, right, Jones's side has also taken issue with other aspects of the sale as well. And with that, there will be a hearing in December with a judge saying that he may decide to approve the sale, order another auction, or hold additional hearings. And this is he also may weigh in on what assets can be sold, right? And that is where Musk and X come in. You see, because when we're talking about the sale of InfoWars, or technically its parent company Free Speech Systems, we are generally talking about all of its assets, the physical studio and its equipment, but also less tangible things like its video archive, website, and social media accounts. But regarding social media accounts, you have X now saying that Alex Jones, InfoWars, really nobody else actually owns those accounts. With the company writing, X Corp's terms of service make clear that it owns the X accounts, as the terms of service is explicit that X Corp merely grants its users a non-exclusive license to use their accounts. Ownership of the accounts remains with X Corp at all times. And so with that, while not opposing the sale in general, the company is opposing the, quote, sale or other purported transfer of any account used by Jones or FSS that is maintained on the X platform. And while with this, you had X acknowledging that the users own the content that they post, the company's argument could obviously have massive implications for the site's users. Now with this, Jones, for his part, who also had his X account previously reinstated by Musk, has been celebrating X's involvement in the bankruptcy proceedings, with him, for example, resharing one post saying, "So important X wins this one so we don't have an ungodly legal precedent set where as soon as you bankrupt someone with lawfare, you get to steal all their social media accounts." But then, on the other side of this, you have a lot of people reacting saying, what's really scary is X even making this claim in the first place. With, for example, one person writing, "X's legal filing in the InfoWars bankruptcy case is both batshit crazy and also what you'd expect. It asserts that X owns every account, can do whatever it wants with them, and can inject itself into legal proceedings that have nothing to do with Twitter." And another saying, his claim that users only have use of their accounts would mean, according to Musk, he owns all government and lawmaker X accounts. Gives a person pause. But for now, we're gonna have to wait to see how this legal battle plays out, both regarding the specifics around X as well as just the general thing. And in the meantime, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. But then, taking a quick break from the news, you know those people in your life who seem to have everything and are really tough to shop for? Well, Baksu, our amazing sponsor, is an unforgettable gift for the person who has it all. And it's not just snacks. Baksu is a Japanese snack box that works with small family businesses across Japan to deliver a new theme of hand-picked treats every month. It's like gifting an edible journey through Japan. And the first box, Seasons of Japan, highlights the best snacks and flavors from all 4 seasons. I mean, trust me, it is packed with deliciousness. And actually, let me tell you about a couple of my favorites. The Sakura Mochi, for example, subtle sweetness with a cherry blossom aroma. It's kind of like biting into spring. And the Yokohama butter sandwich cookies, it is buttery perfection that melts in your mouth. And I mean, we've even gifted Baksu to friends and family before, and it's always a hit. I mean, even unboxing it is an experience in itself, connecting over new flavors and learning about Japanese culture. Each box even includes a booklet with details about the snacks and their origins. So if you want to wow someone this holiday season or just treat yourself, use code DeFranco for $15 off your first Baksu order. It's a gift that they'll remember in a good way. Then we gotta talk about this major showdown going down in North Carolina. Because yesterday, the state's Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, vetoed a hurricane relief bill passed by both chambers of the GOP-controlled legislature. Which of course brings up the question of why the hell would the governor veto legislation that would help his state continue to deal with the devastation brought by Hurricane Helene? And well, as it turns out, it's because the hurricane relief is just a small part of what the proposal would do. Because despite the fact that the legislation was titled as a disaster relief bill, just 13 of its 131 pages actually deal with storm relief. Now, it allocates an additional $252 million for hurricane relief, and while that's on top of the roughly $900 million the lawmakers had already put towards recovery, that total was still less than a third of the $3.9 billion that Cooper had asked for. And even then, it's not like the money is going out the door immediately. Instead, it's just being shuffled to a rainy day fund that won't be accessible until the General Assembly appropriates it. And so all of that then brings us to the question of, well, what does the bill actually do then? And as it turns out, a bulk of the bill would actually strip the state's incoming governor, Josh Stein, and other key Democrats of their power. And the timing here is super important because while the governorship is just being passed from one Democrat to another, this move is coming as Republicans in the legislature are expected to lose their veto-proof supermajority. And also I say expected because there are still some close races undergoing recounts. Now that said, while the Republicans will still be able to maintain a strong, simple majority, this loss of a slim one-vote supermajority means that they will not have enough votes to override the Democratic governor's vetoes, which is a tool that they have used numerous times during Cooper's term. Or in other words, when Stein assumes office, he'll have more power to keep the Republican agenda in check, which one is exactly why the GOP is trying to limit his authority, and two, why they are doing it now, while they still have the ability to override Cooper's veto. And what we're seeing is that among other measures, one of the most significant provisions in this bill would take away the governor's ability to appoint members to the state board of elections, right? Instead giving that power to the incoming state auditor, who just so happens to be a Republican, with him then widely expected to create a Republican majority on the panel, which is currently controlled by Democrats. This legislation would also seriously undermine the governor's ability to fill vacancies on the state court of appeals and Supreme Court, and this by making it so that he can only choose candidates approved by the political party of the outgoing judge, a move that'll prevent Stein from appointing Democrats to fill any future openings on the Republican-controlled state Supreme Court. But again, all of this as Stein is not the only top Democrat that this bill targets. The proposal would also ban the state's incoming Democratic Attorney General from challenging laws passed by the Republican legislature. It would also bar North Carolina's Democratic Superintendent of Public Instruction from appealing decisions by a state board that reviews charter school applications. With then all of that on top of a host of new election restrictions, including some that would make it harder for voters to fix errors with their mail-in ballots. Which is why with all of this, you have a lot of Democrats slamming the measure as a blatant power grab. Others also condemning Republicans for trying to hide all of this behind a hurricane relief bill, accusing them of politicizing essential aid for their own political gain while also failing to actually provide adequate resources. And that last point is actually something that's been echoed by Republicans who represent some of the areas of Western North Carolina that were hit the hardest by the hurricane. And in fact, 3 Republican House members actually voted against the measure, with one explaining, "I didn't see anything in there that really did a lot for Western North Carolina. I'm not sure why it had disaster in the title, and I even asked that be removed." With him adding, "I am not going to vote for something that when I get home and go to the grocery store at 9 a.m. the next morning, that if someone asks, I can't explain what I did and what the bill is going to do." And it's insanely significant that 3 Republicans voted against this bill because it could mean that those same members would not support a veto override. Because the current Republican supermajority is so slim, they need every single member to vote in favor of overriding Cooper's veto. And so with them not having a lot of time to whip up those numbers, it's unclear if they're going to be able to accomplish this. But one way or another, we will know soon, and the impact will be huge. But then, with Christmas just around the corner, of course, it is that time of year again to buy